Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. When people hear about Islam in Germany, most people think of Turkish workers who arrived in the 1960s. However, upon closer examination, Germany's relationship with the Islamic world has a much older history. The earliest traces of Islam in German territory can be found centuries ago, even before the modern German state was founded. From the 17th to 19th centuries, Germany was still part of the Holy Roman Empire, a collection of small states that interacted with many of the world's great powers at the time, including the Ottoman Empire. During this time, diplomatic and trade relations began to develop between the two regions. Envoys from Istanbul frequently visited cities like Vienna, Leipzig, and Berlin, bringing not only political interests but also Islamic culture and values to European nobility and academics. A small number of Muslim merchants, scientists, and diplomats lived temporarily in Germany, introducing language, culture, and even science. These interactions marked the beginning of Islam's introduction to Central European society. Entering the early 20th century, Germany's relationship with the Islamic world strengthened. During the reign of Emperor Wilhelm II, Germany aspired to a strategic alliance with the Ottoman Empire. Wilhelm even visited the Middle East and declared his support for Muslims in the region. Germany's primary goal at the time was to expand its political, economic, and military influence. This culminated in World War I, when Germany and the Ottoman Empire were allies. Thousands of Muslim soldiers from Central Asia, the Caucasus, and North Africa were in Europe as prisoners of war. To honor their faith, Germany built the first officially designated mosque in Western Europe, the Wunsdorf Mosque near Berlin, in 1915. Although now only ruins remain, this mosque holds significant historical significance as a symbol of the beginning of Muslim worship in Germany. The Wunsdorf Mosque was not just a place of worship, but also a center of interaction between German and Muslim soldiers. There, recordings of the Quran were even made for propaganda and academic research. From then on, Islam began to appear not merely as a temporary visitor, but as a part of the German social and intellectual sphere. Although the number of Muslims at the time was still very small, this period laid a crucial foundation. German society began to learn about Islam, not just through stories, but through direct interaction with Muslims. German scholars also began studying Arabic, Persian, and Turkish, and major universities opened departments of Islamic studies. With all these developments, it became clear that Islam had much longer historical roots in Germany than just a modern migration story. This was the beginning of a phase that paved the way for a larger Muslim community in the following century. The second phase in the history of Islam in Germany was one that truly and permanently transformed the country's social fabric. While in the previous phase Islam existed as a small, temporary group, it was during this phase that Muslims began to settle down, establish families, and become an integral part of German life. After World War II, Germany faced difficult times. Infrastructure was destroyed, industry collapsed, and the working population declined drastically. The German economy needed a large workforce to rebuild the country. Therefore, in the early 1960s, the German government took a major step by creating a work agreement for foreign workers, known as the Gastarbeiter or Guest Worker Program. The largest partner country in this program was Turkey. In 1961, Germany and Turkey signed a formal agreement allowing Turkish citizens to work in Germany for a limited period. Initially, they were treated as temporary workers who would return to their home countries upon completion of their work. However, the reality was different. Hundreds of thousands of workers arrived in the hope of economic prosperity, and many eventually decided to settle permanently. They worked in steel mills, automotive companies, construction, manufacturing, and transportation. Major cities like Berlin, Cologne, Frankfurt, Hamburg, and Stuttgart became new centers of life for Muslim immigrants. Besides Turkey, Muslim workers also came from Morocco, Tunisia, Yugoslavia, now Bosnia and Kosovo, and Pakistan. They formed small communities that later grew into large social networks and flourished over generations. Then, in 1973, Germany discontinued the Gastarbeiter program due to the global oil crisis. But by then, Turkish workers had already made Germany their home. Many of them applied for permanent residency permits, reunited their families, brought wives and children, and began building their futures in Germany. This marked the beginning of a new era for Islam in Germany. Muslim community life was no longer confined to the workplace, but expanded into everyday life. Small mosques began to emerge. Previously, they had simply rented basements, garages, or empty buildings for worship. But as the Muslim population grew, these spaces evolved into community centers, centers of religious learning, and gathering places for Islamic holidays. In the 1980s and 1990s, the children of these immigrants grew up as the first generation of German-born Muslims. They attended schools in Germany, spoke German as their primary language, and began entering higher education. Their identity became unique, Muslim religiously, but also German culturally. This was the phase that truly established the foundation of Islam in Germany on a national scale. The presence of Muslims was no longer a temporary or minor phenomenon. They had become part of the country's social fabric, coexisting with local communities and forging a new identity that would influence Germany's future. Following a large wave of Muslim immigration in the 1960s and 1970s, Germany entered a new phase in the history of Islam in the country. During this period, the Muslim community was no longer merely present as workers and immigrant families, but began to establish strong religious, social, and cultural structures. This period marked a crucial milestone, demonstrating that Muslims had truly taken root in German life. 1. From basements to official mosques. Initially, Muslim immigrants lacked a proper place of worship. Many performed Friday prayers in basements, garages, former warehouses, or even small rooms in the factories where they worked. These places were not only centers of worship, but also places to gather, share stories, and relieve homesickness. However, as the Muslim population grew, the need for larger and more suitable places of worship became increasingly pressing. Thus began the slow and challenging process of mosque construction. Some mosques were built from scratch, while others were renovations of existing buildings. In the 1980s and 1990s, hundreds of official mosques were established. This mosque serves not only as a place of prayer, but also as a center for Islamic education, a place to study the Quran, a discussion forum, and a gathering space for the community. 2. The emergence of large Islamic organizations in Germany. As the Muslim community grew, various Islamic organizations began to emerge to organize religious and social activities. Some of the largest and most influential organizations are thus DİTİB, Turkish Islamic Union for Religious Affairs. This organization is an official branch of the Turkish Religious Authority, Diyanet. DİTİB manages hundreds of mosques in Germany and is responsible for imams, religious education, and community activities. DİTİB is the largest voice of Turkish Muslims in Germany. Milli Görüş, another Turkish Islamic organization with strong influence, especially among the younger generation. They are active in education, dawah, cultural activities, and the development of Muslim youth. Arab and North African communities. Immigrants from Morocco, Tunisia, Egypt, Algeria, and Syria established their own network of mosques and community centers, which flourished especially in major cities like Berlin and Frankfurt. Bosnian and Balkan communities. After the Balkan Wars of the 1990s, many refugees from Bosnia and Kosovo settled in Germany and established mosques and Islamic communities in Eastern Europe. These organizations play a crucial role in maintaining religious identity, nurturing Muslim families, and creating safe spaces for the younger generation. 3. The Great Mosque of Cologne, an open symbol of Islam in Germany. The culmination of mosque development in Germany was the construction of the Cologne Central Mosque. With its modern architecture and magnificent dome, this mosque has become an icon of Islam in Western Europe. This mosque is not only a place of worship, it is also a symbol of openness, demonstrating that Islam is now an official part of Germany's major cities. 4. The role of mosques as centers of life. Mosques in Germany not only focus on worship, but also serve a variety of functions. Weekend schools for children, Quran studies and Arabic language classes, social assistance programs, Muslim youth development, interfaith dialogue, Ramadan activities, and Eid al-Fitr celebrations. Second and third generations of German Muslims grew up with mosques as centers of moral education and identity. 5. The changing face of the Islamic community. At this stage, a major transformation occurred. Muslims were no longer seen as temporary immigrants, but as part of a settled and growing population. Muslims began to develop a new identity. German Muslims, a generation that blended religious values with local culture. They felt comfortable being part of German society without abandoning their faith. This stage was a key milestone in the journey of Islam in Germany, as it gave birth to an organized, stable Muslim community with a voice in society. After the establishment of mosques and the growth of Islamic organizations, Muslims in Germany entered a new phase, one in which they not only established their own communities, but also began to influence German social, cultural, and economic life more broadly. This was the phase when second and third generations of Muslims experienced identity struggles, integration into the modern German system, and made real contributions to the country. 1. A new generation of German Muslims, from children of immigrants to part of the nation. The first generation of Muslims came to Germany solely to work. However, their children and grandchildren grew up with diverse backgrounds. They attended schools in Germany, spoke German as their first language, befriended German children, and were exposed to European culture from an early age. The identity of this generation was far more complex. They were Muslim, but also German. They lived a dual cultural life, upholding their parents' traditions, but also feeling part of the German system. This identity dilemma gave birth to a more confident generation of Muslims. They no longer wanted to be a silent minority, but wanted to voice their aspirations, fight for their rights, and take part in society. 2. Contributions to politics. Over time, Muslims began to enter German politics. They became city council members, state council members, and even members of the Bundestag, national parliament. Their presence changed the face of German politics as issues such as religious freedom, integration, tolerance, and Islamic education began to receive attention. Muslim politicians often served as bridges between immigrant communities and the government. They championed social welfare, fought discrimination, and pushed for fairer integration policies. 3. Role in the economy, from workers to entrepreneurs. At the beginning of the migration, most Muslims worked as factory workers or construction workers. However, the next generation evolved into entrepreneurs, traders, halal restaurant owners, doctors, engineers, and even technology company owners. Today, thousands of businesses in Germany are owned by Muslim entrepreneurs. Many Turkish, Arabic, and South Asian restaurants are part of the culinary scene in major cities. Muslims play a significant role in the logistics, retail, healthcare, and construction sectors. This economic contribution makes Muslims a vital part of Germany's economic growth. 4. Education. The rise of Muslim professionals. The number of Muslim students at German universities is increasing sharply. Many of them are studying medicine, engineering, law, social sciences, and technology. This is giving rise to a new generation of highly educated, competent Muslims who are able to compete in the professional world. This generation is the bridge to the future of Islam in Germany, more open, more modern, while still maintaining their religious identity. 5. Culture and media. Muslims shaping the new face of Germany. Muslims also play a significant role in German pop culture and media. Many artists, actors, writers, musicians, and influencers come from Muslim backgrounds. Their presence enriches the cultural diversity of modern Germany. German films, television shows, and even rap music are heavily influenced by Muslim and immigrant identities. This makes the Muslim presence increasingly visible and felt in everyday German life. 6. Relations with the general public, between challenges and hopes. Of course, this integration process is not always smooth. Challenges include negative stereotypes, discrimination, Islamophobia, debates about the hijab or religious symbols, anti-immigration sentiment. Despite these obstacles, relations between Muslims and German society continue to improve. Many schools, social organizations, and churches are establishing interfaith dialogue programs, creating spaces for discussion and cooperation. Muslims are no longer seen as a foreign group, but as part of Germany's multicultural mosaic. 7. A new identity, Muslim German. At this stage, a new and increasingly strong identity is emerging. Muslim German. This is an identity built by a younger generation who feel they don't have to choose between their religion or their country, because both are part of who they are. This marks a significant milestone in the development of Islam in Germany. Islam is no longer on the fringes, but has entered the mainstream of German social life. In recent decades, Germany has experienced a growing phenomenon, a growing number of local Germans converting to Islam. They come from diverse backgrounds: academics, young professionals, social activists, even retirees, but they share a common thread: a search for a deeper meaning in life and an attraction to Islamic teachings, which they consider logical, spiritual, and calming. Many German converts admit that they were first drawn to Islam not through formal institutions, but through direct interaction with Muslim communities on a daily basis. They saw the values of family, simplicity, social concern, and spiritual discipline of Muslims as distinct from the fast-paced pace of modern society. Afterward, they began reading the Quran, participating in online discussions, watching sermons, and eventually visiting their local mosque to learn more. One of the biggest factors behind the growing interest in Islam among Germans is the sense of serenity and consistency they find in its teachings. Many cite that the 5 daily prayers provide a structure that balances their lives, while the concept of Tawheed, the oneness of God, makes them feel closer to God without intermediaries. Many Germans are also amazed by how Islam offers a rational explanation of creation, life, morality, justice, and the purpose of life. In cities such as Berlin, Hamburg, Frankfurt, and Cologne, mosques are seeing an increase in the number of converts each year. Some Islamic centers even offer special classes for prospective converts, covering an introduction to Islam, worship practices, basic Arabic, and spiritual guidance. This demonstrates how Muslim institutions in Germany are becoming increasingly professional in helping people understand Islam properly. Furthermore, the presence of social media has also been a significant catalyst. Many Germans are discovering Islamic propagation through short videos, podcasts, and stories of converts from various countries. These stories provide a sense of connection, as they see that the journey to becoming Muslim is not something foreign, but rather a personal transformation full of meaning and light. This conversion phenomenon has made Islam not only a religion embraced by immigrants, but also part of the new spiritual identity of the German people. Islam is growing not through coercion or propaganda, but rather due to the appeal of its pure teachings and the concrete examples of the morals of Muslims living side by side in a multicultural society.